Hey, what's up budget gamers? Today we're going to be looking at this little piece of professional hardware to see if it might not only be cheap, but capable of getting people up and gaming in today's PC market. So it's 2024, and the PC gaming market has gotten idiotically expensive at a time when millions are struggling to scrounge up any discretionary income. However, millions of us also have one of these, an old office PC that's just a GPU away from gaming. But alas, low-profile cards with that draw power only from the PCIe slot are hardly abundant, and they tend to be pretty stupidly priced themselves. We need a card that isn't $180 or $140 or even $100. We need a $40 card to get gaming. And the decommissioned workstation market? It hath provided. The Radeon Pro WX3100. This little looker is based on the Lexa GPU with 512 shaders, 32 TMUs, and 4 gigs of GDDR5 on a 128-bit bus. Suck on that 6500 XT. Now if you speak AMD, yes, this is just a professional version of the RX 550 with a slight clock bump, but it's much cooler, mostly because it has that sleek anodized aluminum shroud, and it tends to be cheaper. It will not be an amazing GPU to deliver high frame rate, high settings 1080p, but it may turn a terrible old office PC into a terrible old office PC that can play some games. So let's see what it's got. For a test bench, I'm still salty about having spent any money on this X99 board, so it's going to be used today, coupled with the ever wonderful 1650 V4, 32 gigs of quad channel 2400 MHz, some SSD storage, and all powered by the Arsenmatic RGB. For drivers, we're going to use the latest Pro 23.Q4 drivers, and we'll be using 900p because that's kind of where this card thrives. First, can it play Palworld? Yeah, it not only launches it, but it even kind of runs it, though it does deliver a visual experience kind of akin to having Neosporin smeared across your eyes. With an FSR2 mod though, this could actually be a decent experience. How about the finals? Well, it launches, but for a competitive shooter it leaves a little bit to be desired, giving just over 40 FPS on average with FSR2 quality, and a 1% bang on 30 FPS. Even at ultra performance it'll fall short of 60 FPS, so while this might get you into the game without a fuss, it's not great. But in Fortnite, with regular DX12 mode, using competitive settings, we see a little bit more promise. Here, the Baby Pro card delivers a legitimate 60 FPS average. Barely, but 60 FPS is 60 FPS. Apex Legends is a surprisingly similar result, using lowish settings and 3GB textures, something that's obviously unavailable to lesser 2GB cards. Once again, we see the prosumer Radeon just squeak past 60 FPS, with a 1% that falls into the mid-30s. So this isn't amazing, but kind of playable. We'll call it console-esque. Even Halo Infinite is kind of playable, in an Xbox 360 kind of way, if you're willing to accept playing with a 30 FPS hard lock. Averages and 1% lows stay this way for all intents spot on 30 FPS, and aren't ideal for a competitive multiplayer, but at least allow you to teabag some trash-talking 12-year-olds. Forza Horizon 5 is very charitable to potato GPUs, and that almost continues here with 900p and FSR2 quality giving a 40 FPS average that still kind of looks okay. This one might also benefit from a 30 FPS lock just for input lag reasons, but racing titles have been played on consoles at 30 FPS for 20 years, so let's call this one good enough. Maybe some Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Yeah, that's sort of playable too, especially if you're willing to live with a 30 FPS lock and focus on gameplay instead of visuals. But it is Tomb Raider, so, visuals and all. Horizon Zero Dawn is in the same boat. With FSR2 quality and low settings, the canned benchmark gives a result that says this could be enjoyed with a 30 FPS cap. That's Horizon Zero Dawn on a $40 slot-powered card. Even Doom Eternal is borderline playable on this piece of hardware, with an average over 40 FPS and a 1% that remains above 30. If you need to save Earth from Legions of Hellspawn and do it on a shoestring budget, this will work in a pinch. For titles more in the real wheelhouse of the WX3100, we turn to things like Rocket League with the quality presets, where we get over 140 FPS average and a 1% low of 70, showing there is plenty of room to turn things up and still have an incredible experience. Or maybe you fancy some CS2. The little Radeon Pro has you covered there too, with a low preset and FSR2 quality, again delivering an incredibly smooth 130 FPS average, with a 1% low closing in on 80. Perhaps most importantly, GTA 5. At the normal settings with sliders halfway, FXAA, and 2x anisotropic filtering, we see over 110 FPS on average and a 1% low of dead on 90 FPS. And now, just for some amusement, a Starfield run at 720p low using 50% render scaling, for a really immersive experience of seeing the galaxy as a slideshow, through cataracts. So there we have it. This card isn't good, but it's cheap, very cheap, and it looks nice. It runs cool, and for the change you can find in the sofa cushions, it will turn an old clunker collecting dust into something that can at least start up current games. But it also has one last party trick that AMD doesn't tell you about. It can install the gaming drivers. Get subbed to see what difference that makes, and what this thing can actually do at 1080p. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.